Hello everybody, welcome to Our Culture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, my friend, on today's gaming news, Assassin's Creed's Black Flag, as well as a whole bunch of Ubisoft Assassin's Creed games are in production. An absolute ton to get to, so Josh Brown, let me talk to you.
Come on.
To get through these different things. Ubisoft apparently are betting their entire company on the future of Assassin's Creed. There are...
Doesn't sound like them.
Doesn't sound like them for the last 10 plus years. But yeah, the amount of different games that are in production, there are 11 games currently in production for the Assassin's Creed series, as revealed by Tom Henderson over on Insider Gaming. And this comes after Kotaku revealed that they're also remaking Assassin's Creed Black Flag, just to get in on the remake craze that we're in the middle of. Go check out the other video that we did on the Red Dead Redemption remake. I don't know what order these videos are going up in, so it might be already on the channel, it might not. But I thought we'd run down the amount of games that they have in production before we get to the Last of Us stuff. Because 11 games, Josh.
It's crazy.
Good
It is
thoughts on all this?
absolutely nuts.
It is kind of ridiculous to just... I mean, I feel like Assassin's Creed's best days are behind it at this point.
Well, you know, I feel like Assassin's Creed is at a really interesting transitory period. You know, we've got Mirage coming out this year, which is, by all accounts and by all looks from the trailers, a back-to-basics Assassin's Creed, more in the style of Assassin's Creed 1, 2, 3, and all the games in between. Then, of course, we've got this Infinity project and the live service games they have planned. So the future of Assassin's Creed is looking at least a little bit diverse in its gameplay approaches. Whether or not that will make it truly relevant again, I don't know.
I wonder whether Ubisoft just did some sort of wider revision of the amount of different gameplay ideas they have in the works all at once and went, just call it Assassin's Creed, just call that Assassin's Creed. We'll just put everything out as an Assassin's Creed bump and hopefully it'll do well. Because I don't think they're doing very well overall when you think about the rest of their IP. The Far Cry source code apparently just leaked, which is a whole other thing.
I always think, man, back to that one report where internally they was talking about only focusing on mega franchises and
Mega
making
brands.
these super franchises. And yet, going all in on a mega franchise does look to me like making 11 games out of one series and having them all in development at once. Like, I don't know, man. I don't want to be pessimistic, but surely all of these games can't be good. And where is the sort of like desire to want to play all of these titles? Where does that come from? Because Assassin's Creed, say what you will about like the gameplay style of these games and whether it was for you or not, but to me the success of Assassin's Creed Origins, of Valhalla and Odyssey came because Ubisoft at least gave us a little bit of a chance to miss the franchise.
Yes.
Like, making too many sequels, annualizing the franchise is what drove it into the ground initially.
Totally.
And it kind of sounds like they've learned the opposite lesson after a decade off and gone, what if we just did that again?
What if we just tip the bucket out and just get everything all at once? I mean, the thing is, when Yves Guillemot mentioned that whole idea about, you know, people only care about mega brands, that was in the same year that they had a Mario game and it didn't sell very well, the whole Sparks of Hope thing. And Nintendo, it's not like they commit to 11. They have a whole bunch of Marios, but they're not putting 11 in production all at once. Especially for the main Marios, they're once every 3 or 4 years or whatever it is.
To me, it was we've talked about this before, man, but it's just like, to me, they learned all the wrong lessons because, like you said, that was a year where they came off these mega brands. They had the Mario game out, they had Far Cry 6, which came out, and everyone was kind of like, where this is Far Cry 3 again. You've done this for like 4 games in a row. Like, as a huge Far Cry fan, I absolutely love 2 and 3, and I even really enjoyed 5. I've never been more disappointed with a recent title as much as I had with Far Cry 6 because it just felt like they were pumping out this formula over and over again. So to me, to have those disappointments and go, no, actually, we need to double down on these franchises. Bro, I just don't know where that data comes from.
No, it's very, like, we referred to this, I was talking to Josh about this in between recording stuff, where it just feels like remake culture is the thing now. It's what the movies are doing, it's what the TV shows are attempting to do. It's just bring the old thing back, do it again, see if it'll work. But in terms of the 11 Assassin's Creed games that are in production, this includes various pitches for games as well as the things that are in motion a bit more. We have Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is a single-player game. We have Assassin's Creed Nexus, which is a VR game. We have Assassin's Creed Codename Jade, Assassin's Creed Codename Red, Assassin's Creed Hex, Assassin's Creed Invictus, Assassin's Creed Nebula, which is apparently set across 3 locations, including India, the Aztec Empire, and the Mediterranean. Assassin's Creed Codename Raid, a 4-player cooperative PvE game, which is a free-to-play. I'm sure that'll do well. I mean, they all do well. Why not? There's Assassin's Creed Echoes as well, another multiplayer game. There's Assassin's Creed Nexus 2, which is the sequel to Assassin's Creed Nexus, which they're trying to plan that much in advance. And there's the Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake, which is the thing that was confirmed by Kotaku.
Where to begin? Where to to begin? Again, don't want to be pessimistic. I'm sure some of these games will probably be really good. By law of averages, at least a few of these 11 titles have to be at least, on par with the recent Assassin's Creed games that have come out. My question is, you mentioned there a mobile game and a few multiplayer games.
Yes.
Those are intriguing to me because we've had forays into the multiplayer space with Assassin's Creed's previously. We've had PvP modes put into Brotherhood and whatnot, and they were enjoyable. But I'm interested to see what these multiplayer games look like. Is it just going to be a case of having a Valhalla or an Odyssey and allowing you to tackle those missions with friends? Because I do think that framework would work well for that. They're already very kind of MMO inspired in terms of their quests and their loot and whatnot. However, I just don't know if that's kind of the future, if they do go down that route, especially in an era where we're all saying Suicide Squad sucks because of its 4-player forced component.
Yes.
I just don't know if they're a few years behind the curve on getting into that live service space with this franchise.
Remember when EA told us that no one cared about single player games?
I
And
do.
it just was not right. And then they steamrolled ahead with all sorts of different multiplayer titles, microtransactions, live service attempts at various IPs. And every single person who actually gives a hoot about games was just saying, no, that's not true. And just because you guys are saying it with a loud enough megaphone doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
This is what this feels like. I don't feel like the groundswell was ever there for either Assassin's Creed multiplayer or just live service stuff in general. The amount of companies that are doubling down on live service titles when only a fraction of them make it through anyway. And there are so many high profile disasters like the Avengers, like Anthem, like Suicide Squad. It's not even out yet and it pretty much is a disaster. Like everything so far has completely fallen on its face. They've delayed it for a year to try and make it work, but I just don't feel like that's ever going to come back. And so, and it's not like the majority of these are live service titles, but they do have them in here as well, alongside the VR stuff, alongside the single player. It's just weird. It must be weird being Ubisoft, trying to read the road, trying to read the terrain, and just being like, let's just plant some seeds in every one of these. Single player, VR, multiplayer, live service.
That's it.
Maybe it'll work.
And you know what? Maybe that's a better approach than what they were doing previously. Because can you remember when they announced, was it Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Frontlines?
Yes.
Which was a Ghost Recon game that was essentially going down the Battle Royale route. And it was cancelled because the backlash to it was so strong because they were like, why are you doing this with this franchise? This is not what we want out of this franchise. You've just put that name on a trend-chasing thing. To me, I wonder with the amount of Assassin's Creed games in production right now, if they do have one that kind of, betrays the personality and the core tenets of the series, and it is this kind of 4-person multiplayer thing, they have a defense where they can go, well, if you don't want to play it, that's for people who want it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we have an Assassin's Creed for you. It's almost like you said.
That worked so well for Xbox.
Well, that's true. They're planting these seeds all over the place so they can almost offset the backlash they might get by saying, well, yeah, these games aren't for everyone necessarily, but don't worry, if you don't like this flavor of Assassin's Creed, we've got this flavor over here, and that might interest you. We've got the single-player, old-school flavor in Assassin's Creed Mirage. We've got the open-world, big RPG flavor in, Nexus or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's overkill, but it's better than what they were doing, marginally.
Oh, I don't know. For me, it's like that whole, it's almost by default, if you take the same analogy of trying to take a certain flavor and make it work for more people, you have to dilute it. You have to make it thinner. You have to make it not what it was. For me, the biggest problem with Assassin's Creed is just that it suffers a general oversight. It doesn't really have any authorship to it or authorship to it, like it did have when Patrice Désilets was there during the original run of the games, which at this point is like 15 years ago. So it's like they do need something else for it, but their approach has just been to almost treat it like a Mario and be like, it's the mega brand, it'll sell anyway, and just put the Assassin's Creed name on things. But it doesn't have the story pull, it doesn't have the general sort of investment. It's just Assassin's Creed. It is just a brand at this point and not much else.
Admittedly, giving them perhaps the benefit of the doubt of playing devil's advocate, maybe this is their response to that. Maybe they kind of accepted we haven't had this oversight, we haven't had this plan in place, and maybe announcing Assassin's Creed Nexus and Nexus 2 is them trying to get all of these, their roadmap laid out so they know where they're going next. So they have that overall plan to the franchise. Maybe it seems like overkill to us, but if this is the next 20 years of Assassin's Creed, maybe it won't feel that overwhelming when these games come out. I know, it is crazy, but These are the thing, right? When we talk about these mega brands, and I'm referring to something like Call of Duty when I mention this, every like decade, we always sit here on a couch like this.
Probably this exact couch.
And we say, will this franchise be around in 10 years? It kind of looks like it's flagging.
Right.
And I've decided I'm never going to question a mega brand again because I was saying that about Call of Duty 10 years ago.
Right.
And Call of Duty's still around, and it will be around for another 10 years, absolutely. And I think Assassin's Creed is going to be one of those franchises that even if it has roadblocks and even if it takes a few years off, it's going to be around. So then planning, again, devil's advocate, if they're planning for a 20-year expansion of the franchise, at least there's a plan there, and it's not just, we need to get a game out, we need to get this out, we need to just keep up the momentum at all costs. Again, might be unfounded.
No, I think I'm fascinated by the way everything rolls out. They also have Mirage this year is the most like old school Assassin's Creed that there's been since the original trilogy, and even then they would get more action focused as they went on. Whereas all the gameplay footage from Mirage seems almost entirely stealth focused again, like the original game. So something like that, it also kind of calls into question of like what Assassin's Creed even is. Like they tried that weird sort of like dalliance into Witcher 3 type stuff with the Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla trilogy, and then now we're back to like what Assassin's Creed used to be, which used to be the most best received stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how many of these land, how many of them even make it out the gate.
That's it, right?
There's so many in production anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so many of these might not even see the light of day. They might just be prototypes. They might end up getting cancelled. I think it's all going to be pivoting around whether Mirage does well, but more importantly, whether Nexus does well. And the first 3 games that Ubisoft have out of the gate that have currently already been announced, those are going to be, I think, an indicator of where the franchise is going to go overall. However, to give them, again, a little bit of credit, I don't know why I'm giving them so much credit. This is kind of, Scott Tailford, what we said we would want to see when they announced the Infinity program, when they were talking about having all of these different versions of Assassin's Creed they could just plug in. That's kind of what they're giving us here in a way, as long as they aren't just the same multiplayer game 4 times.
Well, that's the thing. I think the whole idea of the Infinity Project seemed to be like an Animus-style like hub that you're just sort of plugging different games into, but there's an assumption of a through line of continuity there, or narrative consistency, or investment, or whatever it is. And whether they can pull that off, that's the bigger Herculean task, because you have so many studios all around the world, all trying to work to some sort of unified approach to make the brand work and going forward. Check this video out about Assassin's Creed right here. Let us know what you think down in the comments, and we'll catch you very soon. I've been Scott Tilton.
I've been Josh.
We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
See ya.